LARANITY video about Guild Wars 2. Oh, you're thinking about getting me to play Guild Wars 2? Okay. Oh my god, there's a Guild Wars 2 expansion? What? I didn't know that. On the 20th? Okay. Zepla trying to juggle 5 games at once. I'm pretty good at it. I'm not that bad at juggling different games. I'm okay. This is a video from LARANITY about Guild Wars 2. If they have an expansion coming up on the 20th, and we should watch it. What are the misconceptions about Guild Wars 2? Dead game, question mark?
I absolutely love Guild Wars 2, but I also play other MMOs sometimes. And whenever I talk to people in those other MMOs, inevitably Guild Wars 2 comes up. And every single time, people say the same couple of things. There is like nothing to do in Guild Wars 2. Isn't that game dead? That game has like no endgame. Guild Wars 2 doesn't have any cat girls. Excuse me? No cat girls? That is very much a lie.
There is absolutely
There are a lot of misconceptions about Guild Wars 2 out there. Some of these are just plain wrong, but there are also some that used to be true in the past, but no longer are. Honestly, some of these misconceptions are pretty understandable. But in today's video, it is time to set the record straight. Let's talk about 5 common misconceptions about Guild Wars 2. And we are starting off with a big one.
About cat girls, I have a question. Can you in Guild Wars 2 get little cat ears? You know, like be a humanoid and have little cat ears on your head.
Guild Wars 2 is a dead game. For some reason, a lot of people seem to think that any game they themselves don't play must be dead. Any of you remember PUBG, which was like everywhere for a while? Lots of people now say that that game is super dead, even though it has like 500,000 people playing right now. That game.
Yeah,
just because you and your friends are not playing a game anymore doesn't mean it's dead. Guild Wars 2 is very much alive and kicking. We don't have any official player numbers, but you can log into the game right now and you will find lots of people running around in pretty much every single zone.
I can confirm. So I tried Guild Wars 2 like 2 years ago, maybe? It was maybe 3. It was a little while ago, and I did enjoy it. And I did feel like the world was very much populated. There was a buttload of people everywhere. Especially, I felt like I interacted with other players a lot, even as a new player. In the open world, there was really epic world bosses. That's where I saw tons and tons of people.
Except for maybe Delve. A lot of people don't like Delve.
It looks like
you can go to a random expansion map from 8 years ago and run into a massive group of players doing a world boss.
That's what I just said.
There are people everywhere, and I have never ever felt that there weren't enough players around for me to have a good time. If anything, I actually think the game often feels more alive than some of the bigger MMOs out there. There are 2 reasons for this. First of all,
okay, that's Goldshire, and you're on the wrong server most likely to see things popping off in Goldshire. That's that's all I'll say.
Guild Wars 2 has mega servers. This means that instead of splitting the player base over lots of smaller servers, there's basically one massive EU server and one massive NA server. These servers dynamically scale up and down depending on how many people are playing. This system is awesome, and it means that even the oldest content still feels populated. The second reason is that Guild Wars 2 doesn't have a gear treadmill, and they also never increased the level cap. The max level and the best gear is still the same as 10 years ago. This might sound a little bit strange if you're coming from a different MMO, and we'll talk more about this later in the video, but it basically means that old content stays relevant for much longer. We don't just all abandon the old expansion once the new one comes out. Hello? Where is everybody? We have to fight the Lich King! So, Guild Wars 2 feels really alive, even in the older expansions. But how is the game doing?
I mean, to be fair, Blizzard just re-releases the expansion before, and so that way you can act like it is still that time. They have like 20 different versions of the game.
Financially. Nobody wants to invest in an MMO that is going into maintenance modes. Well, we do know that Guild Wars 2 is still making quite a lot of money. There is a reason that we are still getting new expansions every year, despite the game being 12 years old. In just a couple of weeks, the Janfair Wilds expansion is coming out, which is finally adding player housing. And we also know that the expansion after that one is already in early development. This game is very much not in maintenance mode. I do kind of understand though why people might think that this game is dead. If you look at the Steam player numbers, there are not actually that many people playing the game on Steam. The thing is, Guild Wars 2 only came out on Steam 10 years into its life. So by far most of the player base does not play on the Steam clients. So don't worry about these player numbers. The actual amount of people playing the game is much, much higher. There is like...
Yeah, that's pretty misleading. I mean, Steam numbers are often misleading, but in this case especially so.
Nothing to do in Guild Wars 2 after
they don't
level 80.
They don't release
this misconception is honestly also kind of understandable. When Guild Wars 2 first came out back in 2012, there wasn't that much to do once you hit max level. Getting best installed gear was pretty easy, and really, your options were either to play PvP or to grind the same couple dungeons over and over. There just wasn't that much PvE content, and because of that, a lot of the early player base quit the game pretty fast. So back in 2012, it was really common to hear people say that Guild Wars 2 had no endgame. And honestly, it's a reputation that still follows the game around to this day.
What?
However, it is now 2024, and this is no longer true. There have been 12 years of updates and expansions, so there are now a huge amount of open world maps, world bosses, story, raids, fractal dungeons, and strike missions. And because Guild Wars 2 doesn't increase the level and gear cap, almost all of this content still gets actively played.
Yeah, so you can just go to any zone you want. Like, I have dipped my toes into Guild Wars 2, and I know that I have barely seen it. Like, I've barely scratched the surface of this game, and I only went through the first expansion, and I would like to see the other expansion stories.
There's actually so much relevant content that it can be a little bit overwhelming.
Fully voiced story.
Where do you even start? Hey, check out more videos on my channel if you want to know where to even start. And that's pretty neatly leads us to our next misconception. It is too late to start Guild Wars 2. I just watched this video on YouTube, and this YouTuber said that there is too much to do. With 12 years of content, how am I ever gonna catch up? Well, fortunately, catching up in Guild Wars 2
I always thought this was such a funny thing that people ask. Because people ask this for FF14 as well. And people are like, is it too late to start? Like, what do you expect me to be like? Yep. Pool's closed. They're too late. You missed the bus. Yeah, you can't. They let you install it, but I don't know why, dude. Because there's too many people playing, and you're never going to catch up. Because the problem we have is there's so much to do now. So, yeah, there's a lot to do, and you can't do it at this stage. This is insane to me.
It's pretty easy. Like we've mentioned several times before, the game never adds new, better gear tiers, and they also never increase the level cap. This means that it's actually very easy and very fast to get to the points where you can play all of the content.
Well, that's cute.
Playing through everything will definitely take you a while, but the neat thing is, you don't really have to do that. Guild Wars
Can I just say that her glamour game is on point in here.
2 doesn't stop you from jumping straight to the newest expansion once you are at max level. You can just kind of pick whatever content you feel like doing.
What's
and
that?
if you do need some sense of
Is
direction,
that a
you should totally
Beastmaster?
check out this amazing video this YouTuber made on what to do after level 80. Yo,
She's so
have
great.
you thought about pressing that subscribe button yet? But just
Already
because
did,
getting
girl.
caught up is easy doesn't mean that there are no ways to keep progressing past max level. You can get mastery levels to unlock features like gliding and
there's
mounts.
so much I haven't
Or
unlocked.
you can go explore and fill out the massive world map. There is super gorgeous
Guild Wars 2 has the best mounts in any MMO, and it isn't even close.
Legendary gear that will take you months to grind for, and there are several
I said
super
it.
challenging boss fights with
I
some
said it and I
epic
meant it.
rewards. Guild Wars 2 never forces you to grind, but if you are an old school RuneScape main and you actually enjoy grinding, there are plenty of long-term goals to really sink your teeth into. Guild Wars 2 is pay to win. Alright everyone, strap yourselves in. It is time to talk about Guild Wars 2's microtransactions.
Loranity, do you only play classic WoW? Are you playing retail?
That game doesn't have a sub
That's a
fee,
classic
so
game.
it basically has to be pay to
mean,
win, right? They gotta
BC.
make money somehow.
Burning
well,
Crusade now.
actually, I think Guild Wars 2's monetization is quite alright. There is no sub fee, but if you want to access all the
Chocobo.
content, you will want to pick up the expansion packs and also the Living Worlds DLCs. These all have a ton of content, so I think they are super worth the money. Besides these, Guild Wars 2 also sells convenience items and skins, and I'm not gonna lie, some of those are super nice to have.
Oh my god, I have gone so hard on this stuff. Oh no.
I don't think I could live without my super cute plushy
Oh
mount
my god.
skins.
No,
If
that's
fashion is the true endgame,
a
then my
huge problem
plushy
for
turtle
me.
is definitely making me win. I've never felt that I had to spend money on microtransactions to be able to keep up with my friends or play the game properly. And that is definitely not something I can say for most other MMOs without a sub fee. Something that's actually quite nice is that you can trade in-game gold for gems, which
Yeah.
is the cash shop currency, and
True.
also the other way around. This means that you can get anything at a gem store just by playing the game, and it also means that you can legally buy gold. Some people might consider buying gold kind of pay to win, because well, you can totally buy gold and then use that to craft the best gear. But don't worry, it's not nearly as bad as it might sound. Like I said before, leveling up and obtaining max stat gear does not take long at all. So it's less pay to win and more you can pay to skip the first couple hours of the game. But you probably shouldn't because it's fun to do it yourself. However, there are definitely some convenience items that are super useful, like infinite gathering tools and more backspace. You can check out my gem store tier list video for all the details on that. But really, do not worry, you can have a very good experience and be entirely competitive without any microtransactions. Guild Wars 2 is a casual MMO. I am a hardcore raider and there is nothing for me to do in that game. It is true that Guild Wars 2 is very casual friendly. There is a lot of very easy, chill open world content. You never have to grind much to keep up, and you can have a lot of fun even if you play for just a couple of hours. But that doesn't mean that there is no hardcore content at all. Guild Wars 2 has several boss fights that will make even the most seasoned MMO pros sweat a little bit. And besides these challenging boss fights, mastering Guild Wars 2's combat can be quite a challenge in and of itself. It is easy to pick up, but the skill ceiling is really, really high.
Is that
you
true
can
for
truly
every
become a
class?
gold at Guild Wars 2's combat if you put in the hours. And honestly, no other MMO combat gives me quite the same satisfaction. Oh, and also, you better learn how to dodge. We also haven't even talked about PvP yet. Because Guild Wars 2's
I don't know
combat is so
anything about
fast, the PvP is honestly kinda scary. Some people have played thousands and thousands of hours of 5v5 PvP, and they're also
How do y'all feel about the PvP?
these guilds out there that are entirely focused on mastering large-scale
Guild Wars 2.
combat in Wolves vs. Wolves. I am not much of a PvP player myself, but these game modes can definitely get pretty hardcore. The point is, Guild Wars 2 is a very casual friendly game, but only if you want it to be. It is the perfect MMO to play on the side, or to play casually if you have a busy life. But if you are looking for a proper challenge, Guild Wars 2 definitely offers that as well. And then, for our final misconception,
For me, I always enjoyed exploring in Guild Wars 2. I thought that was the most fun thing to do besides, well, I mean, I haven't gotten that far. Like, I finished the base game story, but I thought that the open world exploration was peak in it. And I was fine just, running around and doing kind of casual stuff. And man, it's so crazy how if you go underwater in Guild Wars 2, your action bar changes, and now you've got underwater buttons relevant to your class. That was one of the craziest things I've ever seen. Like, I went underwater and suddenly I have a harpoon. I've got like an inkjet. I can.
Guilty Stew doesn't have
That's awesome.
any cat girls. We already discussed that. There's
Oh, that's what I asked earlier. If you could have a cat ears, oh my god, why did you put it at the end of the why did you put that at the front of it? That was a cat.
are. And that was 5 common misconceptions about
You
Guilty
cat
Stew.
ears and
If you have any
tail.
thoughts, make sure to comment below or drop by my Twitch stream over at twitch.tv/LARANITY. These are all
Yeah.
misconceptions that exist mostly outside of the Guilty Stew community.
That's nice.
But I think it might also be fun to do a video about misconceptions inside of the community. Let me know if you would be interested in that. And definitely
Hey.
subscribe for more Guilty Stew and other MMO content. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.
That was a great video. I love Laranity. She's a delight. I always enjoy watching her videos, so I'm going to put a link for this video in the chat, and you can head over there and drop her a sub because she is super cool. And she has been she's been playing FF14 as you've seen from her character in that video. I don't know how far she's gotten through the story though. I don't know if she finished Dawn Trail or not. But I'm pretty sure she was going through Endwalker. Maybe I'm wrong.